We have Ian Schafer, who's the founder and CEO of Kindred, one of the newest portfolio companies of Human Ventures. And we're seeing right now a really interesting time in society where society is demanding more from businesses, and in turn, businesses are demanding more from leaders. And so, it's very topical for this building for the new paradigm that we asked Ian to be here and describe a little bit more about what they're building at Kindred. Thank you so much for being here, Ian.
Thank you for having me, Heather. So I can tell you a little bit about Kindred. We're a professional network that's built to prepare executives for the future of socially responsible business. And that's with the key understanding that companies don't make decisions, their leaders do. People make decisions. So many decisions are made at these companies every day on issues that are not germane to their operations, issues that relate to diversity, equity, inclusion, mental health, food insecurity, financial literacy. Like, these are all things that these companies have to be concerned about externally and internally. So we give leaders the confidence to make more better decisions on these areas by giving them access to the world's greatest experts on these topics, access to all the information, research, data that they need to make those decisions, and of course validation, by being there in the room, alongside other leaders who've either gone through this before and made those decisions that you need to make before, or are in the same decision-making journey as you. So hopefully we can be, for the best, I guess, for lack of other explanation, an API, for leaders to plug themselves into so they can be stronger leaders in the context of these societal decisions.
Can you tell us how Kindred came about, how you ended up starting from your background in advertising and, a storied media executive? How did you think to start a platform like this?
Yeah. So, the first company that I sold was an ad agency, and advertising is inherently a cultural kind of business where you really do have to move at the speed of culture. And I think it cemented really early on for me the importance of having a diverse team. Being a team that could create content for all audiences and all cultures, frankly, and work with all kinds of companies. And we started with entertainment, so we went into like pop culture right away. So we got an expertise in pop culture at MBA almost, in popular culture and how it affects all other kinds of culture. One of the things that was becoming really clear is that popular culture was really starting to infiltrate corporate culture. And not just in the ways that you think, like water cooler conversations about, the last episode of, Mad Men. It's actually about, the things that are affecting people when they go home from work and the issues that they themselves bring to work, but may have historically felt just not cool with talking about, right? And so when a lot of awakening started happening in the world of sustainability, and the realization that all these companies are using like single-use plastics, the more transparency that these companies were starting to get foisted upon them, the more conscious people were about their purchasing decisions, and the more conscious workers were in their employment decisions. And so that started like paving the way to people saying like, wait a minute, I can choose where I want to go to work. I can choose who I want to buy from. And then, we had, Ferguson in 2015, and they called Michael Brown, and the first wave of the Black Lives Matter movement followed, most recently by the most recent wave, Black Lives Matter movement. And we started to see that companies were on their heels and they were making decisions defensively. Mm. And so the pattern recognition that I saw is building a digital agency in, the early 2000s, prepping companies for the inevitable digital business transformation. I started to see a lot of the same things happening to companies that was going to be triggered by something that wasn't digital in terms of transformation, was actually more social. And I don't mean like social media, I mean societal. The issues that plague us as a society were coming home to roost inside of our companies, and they needed to do something about it. And so I firmly believe that the next era of business transformation is going to be one that's focused on social issues. Because they have nowhere left to go besides, again, to the places and people, who are making the most frequent decisions.
So people are at the core of this paradigm shift. We know that. And if companies want to adapt, and it must come from the top. So how are people leading differently, in your opinion? What attributes and experiences are becoming more valuable for leaders?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're evaluating a new leader inside of your organization, definitely see that through a diversity lens, but that should go without saying at this point. But what I would say, there are probably three key attributes that certainly I'm looking for, but from what I hear, others are looking for as well. And they sound like very human, kind of human nature things, but I think there are things to look for in somebody's character. One is empathy and the ability to wield it. So like your skill at connecting and communicating with and understanding others has never been more critical than it is today. And the ability to be able to do that remotely, that's even harder. So that's definitely something to look for. Resourcefulness is the second. I would say, like the ability to forge unexpected partnerships is part of that. We have to be force multipliers if we want to expect things to get done at the speed at which they need to. We're playing catch up for basically, half a century's worth of malfeasance, wrongdoing, just not paying attention. And so in order to get there fast, we need to multiply our forces by one another. So partnerships are going to be critical. And then, this is really old school, but just organizational psychology, classic management training. I think we have to know that whatever we learn through our MBA or undergraduate programs is not enough. We've got to be in a constant state of learning to know how to better align reporting structures, performance evaluations, prevent issues from festering until they become a liability to a company, and being able to know how to tackle issues head on instead of avoiding them. The avoidance of issues is what got companies into this mess in the first place. And so the speed at which they can solve those problems is going to be critical. It's, everyone used to have like those posters in their office in the digital transformation years, like move fast and break things, that they stole from, Facebook's headquarters. I think we need to be careful not to break too many things if those things are people inside of a company. And so it's important to really look under the hood and get an understanding of what it is that our teams want. Because more often than not, I've been finding that employees are, at the end of the day, a company's conscience.
Well, it's definitely only getting more difficult to be a leader in these times where so much uncertainty is thrown at you and you have to navigate that. What are some of the tactical ways that Kindred is helping bridge that gap between intent and action? Everybody always has a good intention of being a conscious leader, but how are you bridging that gap?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing that I learned from talking to hundreds of leaders, both in planning for the event and throughout the pivot to where we are today, is that one of the things that's missing is confidence. And I don't mean like emotional, like spiritual confidence. I mean like actual confidence in making a decision, that you've got all the right inputs to help you confidently stand behind a decision that you're going to make and announce to your teams or result in something that's seen by millions of other people. And so in deconstructing that, we realized that the three things that were necessary were education, information, and validation. So we built services around those to provide to all of our members to max out their confidence in their decision-making on these fronts. So from an education standpoint, we bring in the world's greatest experts for, everything from workshops to office hours to presentations to conversations around these issues that result in actionable frameworks that you can implement inside of your company literally that day. Now, you might want to take some more time to think about it. But again, this is about shortening that distance between intent and action, like you said. And so giving all of the right inputs there is going to help. And a lot of times, people don't even bring the experts in because they don't know who to bring in. So we do a lot of the hard work of the curation of who these experts are to make sure that we're exposing leaders to the people that they need to hear from. And they may not all be the right ones, to bring in for like a consultative engagement, for their company, but they could learn from them and apply that learning right away, or they could choose to bring that expert in, and we can facilitate that. But again, it's like the value of being a member is, even at its least, a try before you buy. With experts on these areas to help you get smart really quickly. Then there's information access, where we have a service called Concierge, where you can literally text somebody for on-demand information, data, research, intelligence to help you make that decision at a moment's notice. give it like 24 hours for us to turn around something, but it's something that we've developed some really great muscle memory around all of these issues and help executives get smart about them very quickly. And finally, the last thing, and that this is done through various peer groups, a Slack workspace, but validation that you're not on this journey alone. Right. And so whether they are those peer groups that meet monthly to discuss the issues that are at hand, that undoubtedly, multiple leaders will share in a very confidential environment, or if it's in a way more open, like Slack workspace, where people are saying, hey, I'm a company that does X, I'm looking for a partner that supplies Y, to help me decarbonize my supply chain. Or I'm looking for a company who successfully, changed the makeup of their board to have it more representative and diverse. Like, these are all things that people can get help with from people who have gone on that journey together. And what we know from just, again, in the way that people improve their mental health, for example, it is most helpful for them not just to talk to experts, but to peers, to people who have gone through this journey also or before. And so we provide access to that and, bring that all together. And people aren't necessarily paying for access to be in the room with somebody else that they want to impress. They're paying to accelerate their journey. They accelerate their decision-making process, so they can be more valuable assets to their organization and their communities.
Well, people are definitely at the core of the paradigm shift here. And so, we think that Kindred is tapping into a massive opportunity where leaders absolutely need to have this guidance and community and validation, as you talked about. So we're thrilled to have you a part of the Human family. Thank you for all the work that you're doing. And we'll make sure that folks on the call here go to kindred.live and understand what a membership means to be a part of the Kindred community.
Excellent. Thanks, Adam.